Good morning, everybody. Automotive Inc. here. Today we're going to talk about Subaru X-mode. What is it? What does it do? How to use it? Should you use it? Before we get started, if you don't mind smashing the subscribe button, it helps the small channel out. At the end of the video, thumbs up and notification bell so you know when I'm posting new content. Also, head over to the channel. I have tons and tons of Subaru content because I'm a Subaru lover. Now, what is Subaru X-mode, and do you even have it? Most models, especially upper trim models, are going to have X-mode. Now, every Subaru, except for the little two-door coupe, I think it's called the BRZ or something or other, everything's all-wheel drive. So you have a all-wheel drive system that does what it needs to do in slippery weather. Now, a few years ago, Subaru brought out X-mode. Now, depending on your trim and model, you may only have one setting of X-mode. Now, if you have the smaller screen, typically your X-mode will be at the top. Same thing with the larger 12-inch screen. You won't actually have a hard button. Specifically, though, in the Forester, you have a hard button dial. And so you really don't even have to mess with this 99.9% of the time. So it's going to have all-wheel drive. That being said, if you have an automatic transmission in your Subaru, if it's a later model like this one, you're not going to have an opportunity to even have a stick shift unless you get the WRX. Now, older models, up to like 22, they still offered a 5-speed or 6-speed manual in some of the cars, and those specifically have a 50-50 proportional split on the all-wheel drive system, which means all wheels driving all the time, no slip to grip. That's how those work. Now, if you have an automatic, it's more like a traditional other crossover SUV that has all-wheel drive system, meaning the wheels need to slip a little bit before it grips, and traditionally it's going to be an 80-20 split or a 60-40 split on how the wheels drive. So that is one advantage to having a manual transmission in a Subaru, because you get that all-time grip all the time. And people will say they chew up tires. I haven't experienced that. If you rotate your tires correctly, the tires seem to wear just about as normal as any OEM standard tire. Now, in this specific model, we have our normal mode for X mode, and then we have snow and dirt and deep snow and mud. Now, you might be thinking, how do I know which one I'm supposed to use and when to use it? Well, that's pretty easy. Even if you don't have this button and you have the larger display, it'll be up there at the top. You'll have your selections for normal, X mode or dual mode, and that's where you can really decide for you on what you want to do. Now, there's a lot of stuff that goes into what X mode really is. X mode, in its simplest terms, makes it more like that 50-50 proportional split. Now, you can go over to Subaru's website. I can link that below, and you can read through the paragraphs and paragraphs. But it's a very unique system in the fact that it gives you a little bit of extra sense of security, and it kind of just does it on its own once you do turn it on. So first thing it does, it changes your throttle response. So typically, if you're in snow or slush or mud or on ice and you get into your throttle like normal, those wheels are going to start spinning, and what that can do is make you swerve, lose a little bit of control and everything. X mode dials down your throttle response, especially when you use the dual mode one. It changes throttle response so much that even if you mash the throttle, it can't really spin out. It tones it down. Secondly, it changes the way the transmission responds. So again, there's a lot of big word jargon over here, but we're going to keep it in the most simplest terms. So it basically changes the way the throttle response works with the transmission. Now, X mode also then changes how the proportion of the power goes to the wheels, meaning it's going to stick with the wheels that have the traction and take away power from the wheel, any of those wheels that is currently slipping. So it does help a lot. And you can go on and so forth on a lot of stuff that it does. And basically, the dual mode just exaggerates what the standard X mode does, and it's a very, very cool system. So when you want to use it, and I would say you use it anytime you come out and you have substantial slush, snow, whatever. These modes can also be used in off-road. There are people that take their Subarus in off-road situations. And standard dirt roads, you don't need to use X mode. But if you're going to go on like a little bit more of an unbeaten path, then you can put it in the standard. And then if you were to get stuck, you do have your dual mode if you have that option. But I would say try and get in the position where you don't use your X mode all the time. Just let the standard all-wheel drive system do what it needs to do. And then when you get in a situation, you have that extra little piece to do it. So how to activate your X mode. So when you have X mode, it needs to be activated under 25 miles per hour. Keeping in mind, if you think you need X mode, you probably shouldn't be going over 25. But the system has a cool little thing that it does on its own that I'll show you here in just a second. So in either one of those modes, it also helps with downhill descent control. This is going to be more for if you are off-roading, and basically it uses the transmission at a certain degree in pitch to actually slow down the vehicle so you don't have to use your brakes as much. So the downhill descent control will only activate under 12 miles per hour and in certain situations. So if you have the button or the knob, doesn't really matter. You're going to come over here and you're going to turn it into whichever mode you think, okay? Again, the depress here is pretty simple. If you have the buttons on the screen, you're just going to tap it. It's going to do its thing. You'll hear the code inactivate a tone. So we're just going to go light, snow, and dirt. And you can see up there, it's going to come up here, X mode, snow and dirt mode. You are going to see up here the little icon that matches on the top there above the green one that shows the regular snow and dirt mode, and your downhill descent controls on, and then it shows your pitch and roll. So that is pretty cool. You'll come over here, and really the only icon, that top one will go away eventually, and you're going to have the little green one and another little redundant one right there showing that you're in that mode. Now if we were to kick it over to deep snow and mud, it doesn't change a whole lot on how this system looks. You can see right there. So we're just going to go back over to here. Now, the key thing to this is, again, this can only be activated at 25 and under. So if you're already driving, then you'll hear that ding and it probably won't go in. But once you slow down to a light, you can kick it over to one of those modes and it'll be in. So here's the cool part about this feature. So we're out here, we have probably, 3-4 inches of packed snow on top of ice because it was warm enough. And we have our X mode, and you can tell when the X mode is activated, and you can see all of our little lights are on. We have our pitch and roll. So now if you pull out of your garage and you have a certain situation like this, go ahead and activate X mode, just because when you get up to those lights and you have a lot of buildup or whatever there, you have the X mode already activated. You don't really have to do it. And once you shut the car off and cycle it back to on, it will go back to normal mode. So you don't have to remember to shut it off. There's nothing you have to really do. You can always shut it off at any time. If you are driving and you get out on the highway and it's clear, you can just shut it off. But here is the really cool thing about it. So as we're driving through here, you can see that we're under 25 mile an hour, and it does change the throttle response. If you get into it, I mean, there's no slip versus, say, you might anticipate a little bit of slip if you're in your normal mode. But up to 25, because again, road conditions suggest this. Otherwise, your Subaru is going to get around just fine. But this is a really cool tool because in most situations, the cars just kind of slip and then grip and everything like that. And this basically changes everything, gives you a little bit more control when it comes to it. But you'll see here in just a second, we are in X mode, under 25 miles per hour. And we can see that the regular roads are pretty much cleared off. So we're going to go up here and you're going to see that Subaru did it really smart, because you're going to hear the chime once we get over 25. And it goes back into your intelligent drive. Your normal screen goes back and you're thinking, oh, it's out of X mode now. Well, the cool thing about it is you can be cruising along on your normal roads, because we have snow-packed roads, say right over here, parking lots that we're going to go into. And as we go into our slower speed, this is how smart the system is. It goes right back into it, because again, we're coming up to an area that potentially at a light where we are going to have slippery surfaces or more snow-packed stuff or buildup. It goes right back into X mode for you, so it can then tailor your throttle response and your transmission. So that is really, really cool, because again, most of the time if you're in four-wheel drive in a truck, it's going to stay in four-wheel drive until you take it out. And driving on roads like this, it's bad on a four-wheel drive system. Now, not necessarily an all-wheel drive system. Those will kind of roll out. But then again, if you do come up to these snow-packed intersections and it starts to slip, it has to slip before it's going to grip. And it's right back out of X mode. And again, it'll cycle off once you shut the car off. It'll go back to normal mode. Then you will have to reactivate X mode. But again, if you live in a place where the mountains, the snowing, or you live in a state where once it's winter, it's always winter, go ahead and kick in your X mode when you get in, because it takes a little bit of that extra worry out of, most people, when they get in a situation where they're sliding or slipping, they might not even think to look down to switch that knob or hit the button on the computer screen. So at the end of the day, I think it's a very, very cool system. And like I said, I would encourage you guys to just activate the normal snow and mud mode when you come out and there's snow and there's slush or whatever. And if you get in a situation where you're out on the road and traffic slows down enough, you can get to that 25, then you can activate it. But at this speed, 40 mile an hour, it's not going to activate it. The car will just say, sorry, no dice. It's not going to do it. And I think it's a really intuitive system. I know a lot of other ones have the locking thing that you can push the button, like Honda and Kia, and I think that's fine. But I like this one because it's very intuitive and easy to do. You just hop in, you set it, you can hear the ding, I'm under 25, it's back in. And that is just a very, very smart feature to do to make it a little bit easier on the everyday driver that really doesn't mess with four-wheel drive systems all that much. So I hope that helped, guys, on how to use your Subaru X mode and how it does work, why it may not have turned on if you tried to push the button at some point. And that's just the easiest way to do it. As always, guys, I appreciate you guys being here, and we're going to catch you on the next one.